Hello and welcome to today's presentation on Kids and Technology, Parents Guide, Q's and A's. My name is Abby Amen. I am the moderator for this particular presentation. And today I will be bringing you the presentation. This is a live broadcast that we do hold here every Saturday right here on our Facebook page so that we can offer opportunities to parents who have questions about problems and issues technology is posing in their homes. So like you already know by now, it's a live broadcast. That means you have the opportunities to ask questions as to what technology is presenting in your home in form of challenges. So we're gonna get started here while we wait on a few people to join us. While we're waiting, I'm just gonna give you a quick introduction about myself and the organization that I work for. I already see one person with us. And by all means, when you do come in, say hello so we know that you are there. And if you like this presentation that we do, please share with your contact. So that way we can create a herd immunity protection for the children in our lives. Again, my name is Abby Amen. I'm an internet safety educator and a registered nurse by profession. I'm a mother of 3, and I work for the IFA Center, which is a child protecting nonprofit organization established here in Edmonton, Alberta. The main goal or the sole purpose for this IFA Center is to create the awareness of internet safety in regards to child protection in our community and all over the world. Hence, we're using a free tool such as Facebook to be able to bring this news to everybody globally. And for that, we are very thankful. So what does IFACE stand for? IFACE is spelled I as in internet, phase as in PHASE. So the I stands for increasing awareness about child online safety, and P stands for protecting children against online danger, and the H stands for harnessing the most effective ways children can use the internet. And the A stands for advocacy, advocating for safer internet for children. And the S is for, we serve as a resource center and a research center on how technology or overuse of technology affects the child's brain development. And of course, the E stands for education, direct education, such as we're doing right now, direct education of parents face-to-face in the real world, direct education of children and teaching children and equipping children on how to be safe online. Basically, creating digital citizens out of our children. That's what the organization does. And again, if you like what we're doing, please share our program, share this presentation so that other parents can be informed as well. Because it's not enough anymore for us to protect our own children, but it's important that we also protect our neighbors' children, our friends' children, so that when our children go playing and interacting with others, they're actually playing with safe kids. Otherwise, protecting our children is only doing half the job. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to get started here. And so I'm going to, like I said, it's this particular series that we are now doing is called Q's and A's. They were just taking questions and answers. So over the week, parents will drop questions in our inbox, and we address the question openly. And we also private message these parents as well. But it's important that we also discuss this questions publicly so that other parents can also learn from it. So over the week, we have been able to, we've received a few questions that we're going to be talking about on today's program. But in any case, if you do have your own questions that you want to add as we go, please feel free to ask. And feel free to type in your questions, and we'll be able to address it live here on the set. Thank you very much once again for joining us, for the few people that I see online already. Okay, so the first question here was sent all the way from BC, British Columbia, here in Canada. And the question here is, it says, my child keeps checking his phone countless amount of times. What can I do? Okay, so, well, this is a common occurrence, so this is a common practice amongst teenagers, even adults, check their phone all the time. But according to research, they actually say the average time in which a teenage person would check their phone is 100 times a day. So 100 times a day, a teenage person or a teenage child checks their phone, whether it be their social media or their emails or their game charts or whatever they're doing, constantly checking their phone 100 times a day. So now that is an awful amount of times for you to check your phone, especially if you're not doing business online. Now, what's the reason behind it? Why are they constantly checking? There's what they call FOMO, the fear of missing out. Because a lot of teenagers fear to miss out information, they fear to miss out what's trending, what's on the news, what their friends are posting, or who is liking their picture, who is commenting on their post. Because they don't want to miss out this action, they constantly check their phones. Now, this is not to say that others are not checking for things that are productive, but that they're usually checking out because of the fear of missing out, FOMO. They don't want to miss out anything. They don't want to be the last to know. They don't want to hear stale news. They want to hear news that is current and is going. And therefore, they are always checking. And also, technology companies like the social media platform and Silicon Valley, where all of this technology is being made, actually, they use what they call persuasive technology. So they are expert personnel who build structures, who build features into the phone in form of persuasive technology to keep people glued in. So why are people always on Facebook? As a parent, why are you always on Facebook? Why are you always checking your social media? Persuasive technology. It's been built in such a way such that you are checking all the time to see what's happening, to see what's going on around you. So that's an intentional feature. That's an intentional tactics, an intentional technique that is being built into the phone system, that is being built into social media to make sure that you are glued to your phone. That is why sometimes you go on the Facebook and you see a person at 8 o'clock, the same person is still there at 12 noon. The same person is still there at 6 p.m. At 2 a.m. they're still there. Why? Because they're constantly checking what's on the news. What is somebody saying about that? What's the comment? What's the like? What's the reaction to their video? That's the reason. And the reason behind it, the technology behind it is called persuasive technology. It keeps you glued in. It keeps you focused. So therefore, teenagers are glued in by this technology. They are glued in by this particular feature that is put on your phone. And again, as parents, what do? Education, education, education. Letting your children know that it's not about the likes, it's not about the comments, it's not about what people are saying about them, but it's about really who they truly are. Do they really value themselves? Do they feel themselves worthy? Do they feel themselves important? Do they feel themselves worthy of a particular thing? Right? That is what matters. What's their self-worth rather than what are people's opinion about that? So educating our children is important. Discussion. Discussing what's safe, discussing what's not safe, making them aware that it's about them, it's about how they feel, it's about their self-worth, not about other people's opinion about them. Otherwise, we're seeing a skyrocketing stats on mental health issues when it comes to media use with teenagers. Even for adults, some adults get angry when their post is not liked or when their post is not viewed. It all has to do with in the way in which we are so gravitated to this little application, right? But again, we have to be intentional with our emotions, especially. This is actually the time when you need to control your emotions when it comes to the way in which you react to things that come at you from your social media platform. Again, the way parents behave, children can also mirror it. If a mother is constantly checking her phone, a father is constantly checking his phone, well, the children are going to do the same. So modeling is very important as well. So I haven't answered our question. We're going to move on to question number 2. This is from Edmonton. This is from a friend here in Edmonton. She actually personally asked me this question, but I thought, this is something that we can bring forward and discuss as a group or on the media so other people can learn from it. The question is this. It says, how is it possible that a person can be addicted to technology? After all, it's not a drug. Right? Now, that's a legitimate question. How is it even possible that somebody can be addicted to technology? After all, it's not a drug. Now, I like to answer this question by giving us some background information on how addiction works and what the definition of addiction really is. So, addictions are created when a desired feeling and behavior become fixated together. So, for example, if the feeling of being a winner has become fixated with the behavior of gambling, the person gambles in order to feel like he or she is a winner. Even when he loses, the fixation between the feeling of winning and the behavior of gambling still persists. So that is why a gambler who loses his game, who doesn't win anything, continues to gamble because he's connected with winning with gambling. Therefore, addiction is a chronic meaning long-term, greater than 6 months, chronic dysfunction of the brain system that involves reward, motivation, and memory. It's about the way your body craves a substance or behavior, especially if it causes a compulsive or obsessive pursuit of reward and lack of concern for consequence. Now, this is when a person continues to do a thing and they know that this thing it's not going to give them any positive reward, knowing that there's going to be a consequence to it, but totally disregard the fact that a consequence is attached to the behavior. That is where an addiction happens. So now, I want you to compare these features or these symptoms, this behavior, to a person who is very used to using their phone. And you can then decide whether it be an addiction or not. Now, is the person unable to stay away from the phone? A person who is addicted to drug cannot stay away from the drug. Now, if the answer is yes, you put that down. Does the person display a lack of self-control in terms of using their phone or being on social media? If the person can't control the rate at which they are viewing posts or being on social media or using their phone, if that's a yes, now that's another addition to that point. Is there an increased desire to be checking the phone all the time? Is there an increased desire to check the phone? Is there an increased desire to be on social media? If it's yes, that's another point. Does the person dismiss every behavior? Does the person dismiss the fact that this behavior may be problematic? So a child who, for instance, is on the phone all the time and knowing that he's going to get in trouble for spending excessive time on the phone, and yet he displaces it, if that's a yes, that's another addition to that point. Now, is there also in a way in which the person responds, or is the person quick to excitement by that particular substance or by that particular phone? Is this person quick to grab the phone without thinking? Is this person quick to jump on the social media without thinking? Now, if that's a yes, that's another point. So these are these behaviors that are displayed in form of overuse of technology, overuse of phone, is also similar to behavior that are displayed in form of overuse of drugs. Therefore, addiction is possible. Therefore, tech addiction is possible. Tech addiction is possible. Actually, people are being treated for technology addiction these days. Tech addiction can be in form of internet use disorder. It can also be called internet addiction disorder, or just internet addiction, right? It is common, it happens. Obviously, an addiction is something that you cannot control. is something that overwhelms you, something that gets over and on top of you rather than something that you can get over and on top of. If you are at a point whereby the time you spend on the phone is more than the time you spend on other productive things in your life, of course, at that point, that presents a problem. Therefore, technology can be addictive. That answers the questions. Technology can be addictive as much as drug can be addictive. Now, talking about, let me go a little bit deeper into addiction. When it comes to addiction, it's usually a state of reward. When the brain gets rewarded by a release of, say, dopamine. Dopamine is the feel-good hormone. Now, why do people do drugs? People do drugs because they feel good when they do it. And the more they do it, the more they feel good. Each time they have to top it up a little bit more in order to feel better. Therefore, if a person is being rewarded by the amount of likes or the amount of comments that they get on the phone and keeps going back and keeps posting so that people can react and like their views, like their posts, or like their pictures, also that is the same way a drug addict would also behave. So the brain only recognizes stimuli. What is stimulating it? What is stimulating it for that dopamine to be released? Therefore, the same way addiction functions, addiction to drugs, it's reactive in the brain. The same way the brain displays symptoms to, say, heroin is the same way it displays symptoms to addiction to the phone. There's no difference. Therefore, that's why we have to put this under control for ourselves and for our kids, letting our children know what is decent use of technology and what is responsible use of technology, teaching them the art of digital citizenship, letting them understand that yes, it's okay to spend time on the phone, but it's not okay to spend the most productive time of your days on the phone because you could be doing other things. And now for those who are actively using the internet, by all means, let them actively use it. Now, active use of internet is when people are contributing online. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm actively using the internet. I'm providing education for the world. I'm providing education for concerned parents and individuals so that they know how better to take care of their own family. So this is okay to do. Use the internet actively. But for those who are consuming media just passively, just viewing and viewing and viewing, it's okay to view. After all, videos are made to be viewed. But at the same time, you want to be mindful of your time. You want to be mindful that passivity is equal to, of course, lack of growth and lack of development. I hope that answered that question there. If you need clarity, you can always inbox me, and or you can ask your question right away here, and we'll be sure to make it clear some more. So my third question here comes from a parent in Edmonton. He says here, I continue to correct the way my teenager uses his phone and computer, but he just doesn't get it. Again, this question is similar to question 1. It's a matter of the brain, right? It's a brain matter, 1. And 2 is the use of persuasive technology. Persuasive technology has been imputed into social media platform, imputed into our phone, such that we are stuck to it, so that we are enticed to do it, so that we are drawn in to continue to use it. Now, any business that want to thrive wants to look for a way to keep people's attention in, and that is what is happening with phones, happening with social media. That is why a child cannot get away from the phone, or a child cannot get away from social media. Also, it's a brain thing, especially when it comes to teenagers. The reason why teenagers cannot easily take correction when it comes to media use and technology use, it also has to do with the brain, with the way their brain function. In the teenage years, the brain functions differently. So the part that develops faster in the teenage years has to do with the way in which the brain controls emotion. Emotionally, they are developing. Appetite-wise, they are developing. That is why you see a teenager can eat like a caterpillar, right? It also in their moods kind of swing back and forth. and also in their guts reaction, right? They're quick, they're impulsive to do things. But guess what? Their slow development comes. The slow development comes in forms of control of attention, in form of resisting distraction, in form of being able to control impulse, and as well as in those executive function as decision making. So while a teenager is quick to do this, or quick to react, quick to make decision, they eat very well. But again, when it comes to making executive decision, they are not able to make this kind of, well-controlled decision. They're not able to control their attention. Their impulses are fast, and they are not able to bring it on that subjection. And they don't have the ability to make, good, functional decision. That is why when you're correcting your teenager, you keep correcting. And that is why you teach your teenager how to sweep, and then the next day you see that they sweep and then they leave a patch of dirt, in the middle of the kitchen, right? And again, that's because, that learning comes slow for them. Therefore, we have to be patient in teaching them. I have a teenage son myself, and sometimes it's like you're screaming on top of your voice and just trying to get this message down the head, and then I realize, what, he's a teenager, right? And then you want to backtrack again, and you want to be patient in teaching him these things. That's why it's hard for them to learn those things. But again, repetition, constant discussion, we create that pathway in the brain such that, eventually they are able to get it. So do not give up, parents, as we continue to raise these teenagers in the way that we want them to be raised. We're trying to create digital citizens out of that. So it's going to take patience. It's going to take a lot of patience, a lot of time, and of course a lot of saliva as you continue to repeat those good instructions and those good morals you wanted to put in them. So now we're going to move on to question 4. So question 4 here is from Ontario, and this is from a parent, and he's asking, what is the difference between digital parenting and real life parenting? What's the difference? Now, digital parenting is the act of teaching online responsibility, online accountability to children. It is the act of equipping children with the right tools and with the right tools and information to surf the internet. It is also the act of being a patriotic digital citizen. Now, digital citizenship has to do with the way we use the internet. Do we use the internet and litter it? Do we use the internet as if, it doesn't matter. It's just the internet. Whatever I do stays here. Actually, no, it doesn't stay there. So that's digital parenting. Digital parenting is taking the time to let your children know the appropriate behavior, the good things that they need to do, the good ways that the good behavior that they need to portray while they are online. It's teaching children to leave good digital footprint. That is what digital citizenship is, and that is what digital parenting is, actually teaching your children the act of good digital citizenship. And of course, real life parenting is as we know it. It's the physical parenting. It's parenting as you were parented. I'm sure a lot of us didn't grow up in a digital age. We never had a cell phone where we were, our parents were talking, we had a cell phone, or we had some friends in the US that we talked to through some kind of media. No. A lot of the things we did were physical. So physical parenting has to do with caring for the physiological needs of your child. So providing the shelter, the food, and the water for your child, satisfying their physiological need. Now, in this age that we are in, both of these life can actually intertwine. So digital parenting can cross across physical parenting, because say, for instance, a child goes online and, creates some havoc online, and then they are being targeted by the police authority. Of course, it's going to affect the physical life of the child. So that's why both parenting is important. Learning to parent our children digitally and of course, mastering the way in which we parent them physically. Letting them know that whatever they do online actually does not stay online. It goes after that. Letting them know this very important piece is important. Just going to take a little break here. So we're going to move on to the fifth question here. This question here is from Edmonton. It's from a parent in Edmonton. It says, I'm a very busy single mom. I work long hours and I leave my kids at home to take care of themselves. I believe in protecting my kids from the dangers of the internet, but I am busy working. How else can I protect them outside speaking to them about what they should not be viewing online? Now, this is a genuine concern, and I do understand that every home is different. And that is why I am not imposing whatever I am doing in my home on other homes. I just give you what research is saying, and I give you expert opinion and expert advice as in form of what experts are saying. Now, every home is different. So for this particular parent, she's a single mother, and she works. She works because she has to take care of her children. And I'm sure I'm kind of, trying to picture what a home is like. When she goes to work, she's trusting that her kids are doing okay, and they can get on the internet and pass time while she's working to bring food to the table. So she's saying, how else can I protect them other than letting them know what they shouldn't be viewing online? That is a very genuine question, and my heart of course goes to this parent. It's different from a two parents home. Now, in this particular situation, and I think, and I'm going to say, and I commend this mom already. I think you're doing what you need to do. You're doing what is in your best ability, and you're already educating your children what they should not be viewing online. Actually, that's a great starting point, and I say you're doing a great job there. But in any case, what you can do in addition to what you're already doing is to, depends on the age of your children. If you want, you can add internet filters. You can add internet filters to their phones or to their computers. You can even just add internet filters to your whole, to your internet router, such that it filters the information that they are actually getting. So that's what you can do extra if you're worried about their safety. So when you put an internet filter, just one second. So when you put when you put an internet filter on their phone or on their computer, you are able to help them. You're able to filter the kind of information that they get, right? Such as, pornography, explicit information, violence, and anything that you do not want to get onto your phone while you're not home. So that's an addition to what you're already doing. And then I think that's a step further in terms of protection. And of course, continuing the regular discussion that you're doing with your children is very, very important. So we're going to move on to the next question here. This question says, my spouse and I have different opinions about how to protect our children online. This mom says, I believe in strict rules, but my spouse believes we should let children learn by themselves. So it ends up that the kids are confused about who to follow. Yes, inconsistency causes confusion in child's learning, for sure. And again, what you need to do, this concerned parent, is of course to get on the same page with your spouse. You and your spouse need to decide how you want to raise these children. You want to decide what is right for them to have access to right now, internet wise. Therefore, and if both of you can come to an agreement, then you can now start to parent your children consistently, and you can parent them on the same plane such that they're not getting missed information. And I think the first step here is to, it feels to me here that this mom might know a little bit more about internet safety, internet protection, or even online danger more than this dad. So what you need to do is to educate your spouse. About what's safe for the kids and what's not safe. Even in my home, we do that. I do a lot of research and reading on internet safety for children, social media trending, anything, technology. I do a lot of that reading. Of course, my husband doesn't do that much of a reading in this particular area. So whenever I find a new information, I share with him. I let him know what my research are, what I'm finding, what new thing I am doing with the children, we should be doing with the children. So that way we can get on the same page. Now, that's very important to do, because that way you can create that consistency within your home. And I even remember there was an instance, my brother came visiting, and of course my brother likes to be on his phone, and then my husband actually had a concern about that, because he felt like we're teaching the children not to be on their phones so much, but then uncle is on the phone. Then what are we letting uncle show them, right? Like, what are they learning by what uncle is doing, right? So again, now that has to do with parenting on an equal level. So with him bringing that to my attention, then I know we have to have a plan as to what we need to do to make sure that what we are teaching our children remain consistent, that it remains unchanged by even what they see in the environment, right? So bringing your spouse on the same page and learning the same thing, or at least informing yourself of your new learnings is important. That way you can be able to raise your children and together and be able to raise them consistently and giving them the right information that they should have. So I think the first step there is trying to get your husband to be on board, and you have to just kind of find a way to do that, letting him know the dire consequence of letting children discover the online world by themselves. Even giving real life examples. There are countless online examples that you can give. Not to use a scare tactics, but again, sometimes these messages, this real life event that seem scary or they are tragic in nature, are actually for others learning, right? Therefore, you can share those kind of story with your husband, and then maybe he can get on board with you, and you can, parent your children, consistently together. Okay. So we're going to go on ahead to answer the next question. The next question here says that it's also from a parent here in Edmonton. He said, I just found out that my daughter has been chatting with a strange adult online. I noticed that she has saved some nude pictures of herself in her phone. I suspect that she may have shared this picture with a stranger. What should I do? Okay, so the act of actually sending a strange nude pictures of oneself to a stranger or to another person is called sexting. So sending sexual images to another person. And now this is a very common practice amongst teenagers. It is very common, and a lot of the time they do it out of innocence. They do it out of the rate at the stage at which their brain development is. They don't think it's gonna pass there. They do it impulsively because they're highly impulsive. They do it not thinking of any consequences will be attached to it. So it is a common practice. It's not to say it's a normal practice, but it's to say that it's actually a common abnormal practice by teenagers. They send nude pictures of themselves to strangers. It could even be to, say, their boyfriend or their girlfriend. Girls will send more sex pictures than boys would. And boys would share more sex pictures than girls will. So if a boy gets a nude picture of his girlfriend, he's more likely to share it than when a girl gets a nude picture of her boyfriend. So that's a common practice amongst teenagers. Now, if you're suspecting that your child may have been sending nude pictures of herself to a stranger, I would say, approach your child. It's your child. And this is a matter of safety. So you want to approach your child from a safety perspective. You want to approach your child from caring and, of course, you love your child perspective. Letting your child know what you've noticed in her phone, and to ask, is there a possibility that you have been sharing these pictures with other people? Now, I'm not asking you because I want to melt a consequence. I'm asking so that I can help you, because when other people you can go like this. Now I'm kind of giving you a script, and you can then say to your daughter, if sometimes when strangers get a picture of us, they can actually start to uh, blackmail us in form of sextortion. Now, sextortion is when a person has a nude pictures of you, and then they're telling you to bring more pictures so that they don't release the one that they already have, right? So letting your child know that the stranger can start to exploit you more when they have a nude picture of you. So that is why I'm asking, so that we can retrieve the pictures you have already sent out. Now, if your child feels safe, if they feel reassured and confident in your discussion with them, that child could agree to having sent pictures out. And of course, and at that point in time, you want to intervene. Now, if you start to communicate with the person, most likely they're not going to send back those pictures. And even if they sent it back, they probably saved it. So what you want to do is contact in Canada. Now, this is for only in Canada. You want to contact CyberTip through their online services. It's called cybertip.ca. Now, cybertip.ca is a child protecting organization under the Canadian Child Protection Center, under the Canadian Center for Child Protection, who help families to withdraw sexual abuse materials, sexual abuse pictures of children from online. Now, for instance, a child sex picture that is floating online, cybertip.ca can actually help to withdraw those pictures from the internet such that it can be totally eliminated from the internet. They have been able to withdraw millions of pictures of sexual pictures of children. You know why sexual predators continue to share pictures, sexual images of children in form of what they call it CSAM. So they call it child sexual abuse materials. So we don't call it child pornography because children don't involve in pornography. When a child sexual picture is online, it's actually an abuse picture. It's actually an abuse material. So you call it what it is. So it's a child sexual abuse material floating on the internet. Cybertip.ca can help to withdraw those pictures online and discard them and destroy them totally such that the child is able to live free again. So as this parent is concerned, I'm sure there are probably a few other parents who have noticed this and in their child's phone. And if you're in Canada, you can contact cybertip.ca, and depends on which part of the world you're watching from. You want to ask your local police authority which department is responsible for cleaning out sexual abuse material, sexual abuse images of children online. I'm sure every developed country has one. In Canada, it's cybertip.ca. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last question here. Our last question here says it's about a parent in Edmonton. She's actually asking this question because of her neighbor's child. She says that her neighbor's child spends a major part of his day on his phone. And now she's noticed that this same child is exhibiting inappropriate sexual behavior towards other kids in the neighborhood. And she says that she suspects that he's probably watching porn. Like, what can he do? What can she do to help this child? And now this is not her child, this is her neighbor's child. But she's concerned about this neighbor's child because this neighbor's child also plays with other children in the environment. Now, what do you do in this particular situation? In this particular situation, also, of course, this is a genuine concern. A child that is displaying inappropriate sexual behavior towards other children is obviously doing that because of exposure, is doing that because they themselves have probably been sexually abused, or they have actually viewed some kind of sexual projection, sexual videos or sexual images. Like inappropriate sexual behavior just does not come on unless of course there is an experience, unless of course there is a contact. So most likely this child might be viewing pornography. Now, what is the rate at which kids are viewing pornography? It's actually an alarming stat. They actually say at the age of 10, at the average age of 10 in Canada, a child would have come across porn online. A child would have come across online porn at the age of 10. It's also the same age. Average age of owning a cell phone is 10. So there's a high chance children are seeing these things, especially if your phones are protected, if your phones aren't filtered. So if your neighbor's child is displaying inappropriate sexual behavior, and you know that he spends a lot of time on his phone, and if you verify that that phone has no filter and no protection, of course there is a high chance. You just have to spend enough time on the phone, on the internet, in an unprotected internet service, you know, in just a little while, you come across pornography. You may not even be searching for it. It will come at you. They say about 30% of all internet, of all websites globally is pornographic in nature. Therefore, what are the chances? So 3 out of 10 times is the chance that a child who is using an unfiltered phone, unprotected phone, will come across porn. So what do you do to help this child? I'll say, have a discussion with the parents, because this child is not yours. Therefore, you can't do direct intervention on this child. So have a discussion with the parents. And hopefully you are in good communication with the parents, or you have good relationship. You can have a talk such as, you know, what do you do to protect your child's phone? What do you do to protect the internet service in your home? And see what that parent does, you know, or just ask randomly, you know, I do so and so for my children's phone so that they are not exposed to, you know, online vices or porn. What do you do to, you know, protect your child's phone? I'm just curious. You know, if it turns out that this particular parent is not doing anything to protect the child's phone, at that point you can say, well, that it's quite risky to let children use unprotected phone, especially if they're using the phone all the time. And especially if you're not giving them the education, you're not discussing with them what they need to do or how they need to react when they do come across inappropriate things online. You know, so at this point, you want to actually educate the parents. You want to give the education to the parents so that the parents can in turn, of course, you know, start to follow up with this child and do the appropriate intervention for this child before it gets out of hand, right? So good question, and I do hope that that child is saved from such behavior, and I do hope that a concerned parents like you is able to share that information with another parent, so that it's not only your children you're protecting, you're actually protecting other people's children. Because when it comes to the digital world, or when it comes into the world we live in, because we are not an island, we don't live our homes are not on islands where there are no other homes. Therefore, it's important that we actually are sharing this information that we are getting. So whatever information that you get about internet safety, internet protection, you have to share with other parents. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. I'm not paid to do this. I do this out of my own volition. I do this voluntarily because I believe that when children are protected, we are protecting our future. When children are saved, when children are given the right tools, when children are given the right information to navigate the internet, in which they spend a lot of time these days, we are actually creating a better future. We are teaching them the most effective ways to use the internet so that we are creating better leaders for ourselves. So it's not a matter of just talking about it. It's actually a matter of trying to make those changes, So we've come to the end of the questions today, and if you do have any questions, You can leave it in our inbox. We will be happy to answer your questions. Or we also do a live questions and answer here where you can just write your questions and I'll be sure to bring you an answer. Okay, so good news in the house. IFES Center was established in the year 2017, and we have done a lot of presentations like this online. We've done a lot of in-person presentations, and we've done a lot of what we do from our home location. Just using other facilities. But we are at a point now where we are about to get our own facility. We actually going to have a physical center where parents can come to and do consultation on how to keep their children safe online. In that center, we are promised to have resources. We're promised to have internet safe resources for our children and for families to be able to use to protect their family. And we are hoping to have these resources in multiple languages so that it's not only limited to those who speak English, but other people can also have it. We are looking forward to a point whereby we are able to do weekly not just online presentation, but also in-person presentation so that we can have some real hands-on practice when it comes to the things we do to protect the children's phone or what we would do as parents. So we're looking forward. So our center is in progress and it's coming up, and we will keep you posted on when our center becomes physical and you can actually walk in and do consultation with us. And as part of that center, we are hoping to have counseling service for parents whose children are suffering from technology overuse or internet disorder. There's a whole lot of things that is coming up on the horizon for us in form of development and in form of advancing forward. Again, we say thank you for your support all year as you watch and share this video. We really do appreciate you, and we say keep bringing in your questions, and we are happy to answer your questions anytime. Thank you so much, and we will see you again next week with more Q&As on kids and technology. Our goal is to keep the children safe online, and you on the other side, keep protecting the children, because as you do that, you're securing our future. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week. You have a good week. Take care now.